One, two, one, two. Finally. There we go. All right. Shalom, shalom. All right. Shalom, shalom, everybody. Let me get just getting set up here, getting straight with everything. Give me one moment. Come in, make yourselves comfortable. Shabbat shalom to you all. One second here. All right, boom. Give me one moment. Come in, make yourselves comfortable. All right, boom. Whew, finally got it. All right. So, what we're going to get into today, we're going to talk about the dangers of not having a Torah first guide when it comes to our children. Okay, I'm saying to our children, but this is also to us because we are like unto children. So, before we get going, my name is Brother Emmanuel. Shalom to all you all. Shabbat shalom to my Sabbath keepers, those who keep the day, keep it holy. Shalom to you all. Okay. Shabbat shalom. All right. So let's go ahead and get it going here. You can see it on your screen there. Sorting out JASHER Torah First Guide. So number one, JASHER is a label used for different works. Biblical Book of JASHER is a Book of JASHER as a law source referenced in Joshua 10:13 and 2 Samuel 1:18. The Bible cites it, but is not preserved for us. I want that to be understood. The Bible does cite it, but is not preserved for us, right? And even in that place in Jasher, that we see that. I want to show y'all something real quick because I don't have it in my my presentation here. Right? When we go to Joshua 10 and 13, it says, "And the sun stood still, and the moon stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies." Is not this written in the book of Jasher? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven, and hasted not to go down about a whole day. So when we look in the book of Jasher, we don't see this account anywhere there. Okay? It is nowhere to be found. That also lets us know that this is a pseudepigraphal work. Pseudepigraphal meaning that it's a false author. We don't know exactly where this book is. But one thing we can rest assured is that the book that we have is not it. Okay? All right? So it says Sefer HaYashar is a midrash. A midrash for those from the Israelite that who are waking up and they're saying, look, we don't deal with no Talmud, we don't deal with no midrash. I have news for you. You are dealing with it when you deal with the midrash of Sefer HaYashar. You understand? Because the reason for that is because that this is a midrash. A midrash is a commentary. Not only a commentary, but they expounded and added portions that contradict Torah. Okay? And if it contradicts the Torah, it's out of here. It's out of here. It cannot go against Torah. It has to remain within those bounds. Okay? So a later Hebrew narrative retelling midrashic teachings through expanded stories. So that's the second version that we have. The popular book, the popular English book of Jasher, the widely circulated 1840 English translation stream of the Midrash text, commonly reprinted, including an 1887 Salt Lake City reprint. That is what we have. The Pseudo-Jasher, 1751, a separate English book known in scholarship as a forgery, different content, same marketing label. I have to get it. But I believe the one who did the Pseudo-Jasher, he spent 3 years in prison for forgery. He spent 3 years in prison for forgery, having to do hard labor. Okay, I can't recall his name right now. I was reading it last night, and I have to get that information for you. All right. So here we go. All right. So number 2, the common confusion. Many readers assume the popular English book of Jasher is the same work referenced in Joshua and Samuel, or they treat it as scripture level authority. That is the step that creates spiritual and intellectual damage, right? Because if it's the authority, then what is Torah? It loses authority. They become competing sources. They can't coexist in sync and harmony with one another. And that's the thing. All the books of the Bible have to harmonize with one another. And if they do not harmonize with the Torah, they're no good. Remember what sin is. 1 John 3 and 4. Sin is the transgression of the law. Okay? Sin is the transgression of the law. All right, let's continue. Number 3, why this becomes dangerous, especially for children. It feeds superiority, right? You begin to deal with a superiority complex. You begin with seeing, you begin diminishing the commandments of the law. I know, I've seen it. I see brothers and sisters do it all the time, right? Right now we're talking about Jasher, but Enoch does the same thing. It does the exact same thing. Because what does Enoch do? Enoch has totally different accounts. It has a totally opposite calendar, right? When the calendar is telling you on the first day of the 15th month is the blowing of the trumpets, right? It's telling you on the 14th day of the first month, the 15th day of the first month. How are you supposed to calculate that if it's two conflicting ways of keeping time, right? It's impossible. You will find yourself in sin and being puffed up over the Torah because somebody has to be in error because they do not coincide. And I've heard teachings trying to mesh the two. You cannot mesh the two. They do not mesh. It's so doggone confusing. The only person that's going to understand that is you because it doesn't make any sense at all. You can't make it make sense. They're not meant to. It's a pseudepigraphal work. It is written by a false author. So let's continue. Let me see where I left off here. All right. It pressures Torah to defend itself. Once additions feel essential, people begin implying Torah is incomplete. We know that's not true. Torah is complete. When we go to Psalms 119, I'm going to find it real quick. It's Psalms 119. Let me see, what verse is that? When it says, his law is perfect. Okay. Psalms 19 and 7. Psalms 19 and 7. The law of the Lord is perfect. So to accuse it of, and let me go to the next slide here. So to accuse it of being imperfect is against Torah within Torah itself. We cannot do that. Okay? We cannot do that. Here we go. And give me one moment. I'm going to continue, and I'm going to get y'all this other slide here in just a minute. All right. So me slide this out a little bit. All right. It forces a false choice. When Jasher and Torah diverge, the child learns to accuse one record or the other instead of keeping Torah as the judge. And it excuses them very easily from keeping the Torah at all. It excuses them very easily from keeping certain portions. Anytime that they want to wiggle out of obedience, they very will just wiggle out of obedience. They're going to usurp that authority. Okay? I've seen it happen before. All right? All right, here we go. There we go. So let me just get this first, sorting out Joshua to our first guide. Then we have, all right. We're on number 4. We're on number 4 here. Examples of divergence. Examples of divergence. Let me see if I can zoom out here. All right. Examples of divergence that create Torah versus Jasher conflict. The popular Midrash-based Jasher tradition contains additions and divergences that can compete with the Torah record. Examples commonly discussed include genealogy naming mismatch. Genesis 5 names Seth's son Enosh. The Jasher retelling uses Enoch in a similar place, right? So that's a changing, right? We're not supposed to take one, even Christ said, one jot or one tittle he will not remove. But yet we give Jasher all the room in the world to be able to do that. And that's Matthew 5:18. It says, "For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law till all be fulfilled." So we're not supposed to take away or add to. And we see that being done here. Okay? We absolutely see that being done. All right. Let's go ahead and return. We have the lifespan number mismatch, right? The lifespan number mismatch. I'll come back here a little bit. All right, the lifespan number mismatch. Trying to get in this camera a little bit. All right. Torah lists Sarug's total years in Genesis 11, 22, and 23. Jasher gives a different total in its retelling. Hagar, Ishmael, expulsion motive reshaped. Torah gives one stated trigger, Genesis 21, 9, and 10. Jasher adds a stronger plot claim that changes the cause. Melchizedek framing. Change. Torah says Melchizedek, king of Salem. Genesis 14, Jasher uses a different king name and adds an identity claim. Okay? And then finally we have garment, and this is just a few. There's plenty in there. There's plenty in there. There's so many contradictions within it. It's crazy. I'm not gonna get them all in this class, but it's a bunch of them. All right. And we have the garments of skin becomes a relic storyline. Torah states Elohim clothed Adam and his wife. Genesis 3:21. Jasher builds a multi-generation transfer narrative. So covenant order, Moses and later restoration themes. Moses, Torah is, go to the next slide here. You see this? All right, boom. Oh, there we go. There we go. I'm figuring it out. Okay. All right. Now we're on number 5. Covenant order, Moses and later restoration themes. Moses, Torah is covenant law given through Moses. That remains the foundation and standard. So here we see the Ezra restoration motif. This was brought to my attention. I'm so glad it was. Ezra is portrayed as restoring writings after destruction. Read this as restoration theme, rebuilding after a catastrophe, not a replacement of Sinai or any elevation above Torah. Because I understand that the Torah was originally given to Moses, and yet it is reiterated and restored, or has been restored throughout generations. But that does not mean that we are to change it. And I'm so glad that this got brought out to me. And, you know, with this being said, make sure you like and subscribe to the channel. If you're still watching, like and subscribe to the channel. I really appreciate that. So here we're looking at the next one is household guardrail. And if you have anything different, a difference of thought or opinion, feel free to put it in the comment section. I'll address it. If you have a valid point, I'll research that valid point. I have no problem with conceding to a truth that is a stronger truth. So if you have a thought process, definitely you're more than welcome to express that. This is my thought process and how I believe that I've been shown in it as the truth. If the Most High decides to reveal anything different to me that shows otherwise, then I'll definitely acquiesce and be compliant to that truth. All right? The truth, I don't have to ego trip on the truth. The truth is going to be the truth. It was the truth before me and will be the truth long after I'm gone. All right? Household guardrails. Torah sets obligation. Everything else gets tested by Torah, and nothing outside Torah becomes law. Okay? All right? And that's recommended practice. If Midrash is read at all, labeled it as tradition or commentary, read it with discernment, and stop the moment it competes with Torah. It should never compete with Torah. All right? So I want to go to Ecclesiastes 12 and 12. It says, "And further by these, my son, be admonished, of making many books there is no end, and much study is a weariness of the flesh." So we have to be weary of what we are feeding ourselves. But let's continue. Let's go in the New Testament. We're going to go to Matthew. Give me one second. Matthew 7 and 24. Because what we should be feeding our children before they should be able to tell us Jasher, Enoch, or anything else, they have to have a firm foundation of Torah first. It is always Torah first. The law is our schoolmaster. All right? So if we read Matthew 7 and 24, it says, "Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine and doeth them," this is red letters, this is Christ, "I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock." What is a rock? A rock is the beginning. A rock is the foundation, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 4, verse 6. It says, "Keep therefore and do them, for this is your wisdom." This is the wise man. What is Christ talking about? He's talking about the law, right? "This is your wisdom and your understanding in the sight of the nations, which shall hear all these statutes and say, surely this great nation is a wise and understanding people." Why? Because they're going to see your behavior as the light of the world. They're going to see who you are, right? They're going to see your behavior because we are to act out these things. Let's go to Proverbs 1 and 7. "The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom and instruction." If it's the beginning, it's also the foundation. It is the rock that Christ is pointing us all to. All right? And we're going to go to Deuteronomy 6 and 2. It says, "That thou mightest fear the Lord thy God Let's look and see what fear is. Let's pause. We're going to come right back. Go to Ecclesiastes 12:13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear Elohim and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man. So before we learn Jasher or Enoch or anything like that, the reason why our judgment is a little bit askew is because we really skipped the beginning. We skipped the schoolmaster, right? And then we jump to all of these other books, right? But we have to remember, even in Genesis chapter 3, it says 3 and 6, and when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, it was never good for food. She was duped by an outside wisdom, by an understanding that is no understanding, and that it was pleasant to the eyes and a tree to be desired, to make one wise. She took of the fruit thereof and did eat, and gave also unto her husband with her, and he did eat. Right? So she was duped by this false wisdom, this false understanding, this chasing, something that supposedly puts you in authority over Torah, over the command, over the fear of the Most High. Right? Now let's go back to Deuteronomy 6 and 2. That thou mightest fear the Most High thy Elohim, to keep all his statutes and his commandments, which I command thee, thou and thy son's son, all the days of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. So when we go to Galatians 3 and 24, it says, wherefore the law was our schoolmaster. A lot of us have skipped that schoolmaster. Okay? Everybody talks about, oh, he died for your sins, but since he died for our sins, wouldn't it do us justice to actually learn what sin is? Wouldn't it do his death some type of justice to learn what sin is? That's how you honor his death, is by to stop sinning. The only way that you can stop sinning is learning what sin is. Let's go to 1 John 3 and 4. Whosoever committed sin transgresseth also the law, for sin is the transgression of the law. Okay? Verse 7, it says, little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. Let's look and see what righteousness is. Let's go to Deuteronomy 6 and 25. Deuteronomy 6 and 25. The foundation where they're even drawing this information on what righteousness is. And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he hath commanded us. Now let's go back to 1 John 3. Now let's drop down to verse 8. He that committeth sin is of the devil. For the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil. It says, he that committed sin is of the devil. So if you have not learned Torah, if you have not learned the law, then my friend, come out from being amongst the devil. All right. Verse 9 says, whosoever is born of Elohim doth not commit sin. But you got to know what it is first to not commit it, to not break the law. You got to know what the law even says. And you cannot assume what it says, because you're playing with eternity. You're playing with something way bigger than yourself. We don't assume what it says, because a lot of people think that the big ones are, I don't commit adultery. I don't steal. I'm not in the clubs. I don't cuss. Well, cussing isn't saying those words. I actually know where that's nowhere in the Bible that says that. You understand that that's not it. So people assume what they are, but at the same time, when the pastor asks for tithes and offerings, you give it. That's a Torah thing. And at the same time, if a man takes another man's wife and he's having his way with her, then we say, oh, you're sinning. Oh, now you want to go to what it's saying about that. You understand? Your kids being disobedient to you. Now you want to say, oh, honor your mother and father. Well, if you do away with the Torah, you do away with all of those things. Not only do you do away with those things, but you can rest assured that you'll see that person in the kingdom because they deserve to be there. Because there is no transgression, there is no sin. All right? So, get a firm foundation. Don't skip the beginning. Get a firm foundation for yourselves. These extra biblical books that are, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that there aren't any books that aren't possibly legitimate, okay, that are outside of Torah, that are not running alongside of Torah. The midrashes, the commentaries, I'm not saying that all of them are bad. You understand? But what I'm saying is, as far as legitimate books, that is just not a retelling of the Torah, such as Ezra did, and I believe there's a similar story in Baruch, a reiteration of those same books where they're not moving anything. They're just being told it again and writing it in, right? So outside of that, anything that's running parallel with those testimonies, I would say is absolutely no. Now, when it comes out to other books that are outside of that, like Joshua 10 and 13 said, Book of Jasher, I'm pretty sure there is a legitimate book that has not been rediscovered called Jasher. But what we have now is not legitimate. And it's clear to see because it has to flow. It cannot be in sin. If sin is the transgression of the law, right, then all of our understanding has to be within the law so that our understanding is not within transgression itself. It has to be within that parameters. It has to be within those boundaries. Okay. All right. And with that being said, I think that concludes on today. So thank you all very much. I hope you all tune in next time. We also have this Tuesday coming up at 9 p.m. is Unraveling the Onion. We'll be unraveling the onion. That is this Tuesday. I will have special guest panelists on there. We'll be on TikTok live and potentially on YouTube as well. So definitely come in. This week's topic, I believe it is going to be on interracial marriages and I don't see color. So we're going to be talking about those racial norms. Of course, that'll be the umbrella. Sometimes the conversation moves to other things that are kind of relatable as well. So definitely tune in Tuesday, 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. Come join the conversation. It is not a debate space. It is a community think tank. All right. And with that being said, thank you all so much. Shalom.